Hello, everyone. My name is Brenda Ray, and I'm a peer advisor for the Swanson School of Engineering's Global Experiences and Engagement Office. Today, I am joined with Dr. Sanchez, who leads the Sustainable Design and Innovations in Island Nations program that takes place in Guam. Dr. Sanchez, do you want to start us off with telling us a little bit about yourself and your role within Swanson?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Dave Sanchez. I grew up on the island of Guam, which is the picture that's behind me. Currently, I serve here in Swanson as the associate professor in civil and environmental engineering. I'm also the associate director for the Mascaro Center for Sustainable Innovation. I'm very lucky. I wear a variety of different hats, whether it's global programs or food systems or innovation and entrepreneurship. And so with this, I get to pull from a lot of those to help and infuse them into the programs I work on.
Awesome. Thank you. How did you decide to get involved in global experiences and the SQUAM program specifically?
Yeah, I think for me, global experiences has always been near and dear to my heart, maybe because the positive impact it had on me as a student. So as a student and a teacher, I've seen how transformative studying abroad can be, personally and professionally. And so things where I can participate in that is always exciting. So I think for me, for the Guam one has always been a dream because I think that's where I can actually leverage so much cultural knowledge and community knowledge to help students.
What are you most excited for about going back to Guam this upcoming calendar year?
I think I'm always excited to share and connect with the students, right? Whatever program I'm on. I think what makes it extra exciting is for me to be able to share the beauty, ingenuity, the history, community, and the unique culture of the place where I grew up. I mean, it shaped how I think, it shaped what I do, but I also think it has a really relevant role to play in today's world, right? It sits as a crossroads for East and West, right? It sits as a gateway, to a variety of different worlds, and at the same time, geographically, it holds so many unique things about it, just from a nature standpoint. So I'm excited to share all of that with the students.
Yes, thank you for sharing all of that. And then how do you think that each engineering major would benefit from going on your program?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think for me, for an engineer, necessity is the mother of invention. And on an island, there's a lot of different needs and a lot more new constraints. And these kind of constraints, you'll make it so that you have to think very, very creatively. So for each of the engineering majors, what this course gives you is the opportunity to reimagine how things might be. And hopefully those, spark something to think differently about either the best practices or the systems that you currently learn about, and rethink, well, how could I recreate them, right? What are ways that we can actually scale them in different ways? How can I deploy different materials? How can I actually deploy different approaches? So in a sense, right, it allows each engineer to be creative. If I was going to be specific, I think for chemical engineers, well, how do you think about, beverages and food and plastics and all these, things we have? Could you actually produce that on an island, right? In terms of sustainability, could you produce it in a circular way? Right? For mechanical engineers and material scientists, think of, well, how do you recreate many of the machines and vehicles and robots that large developed nations use, and apply that same design principle to local materials, right? And so again, it's like I want to do the same thing, but how do I actually recreate or reimagine those things? With bioengineering, healthcare and medicine are always big. But one thing about it, as I think about the bioengineering curriculum, is you learn a lot about medicine, physiology and anatomy. I think here you'll get a different paradigm by learning about traditional medicine. And these are practices that are thousands of years old that give you a different understanding to how to approach health, right, and well-being. Right, you'll get to see it firsthand. You'll get to actually interact, with some of the plants that they use, etc. And I think that's often very inspiring to think about. For my home department, for civil and environmental engineers, an island is a wonderful way to think. We create lifelines for cities and communities. No better way to think about how true that is and how tractable that must be when you're thinking about an island because of all the constraints, right? In terms of space and time and materials. And so for civil and environmental engineers, can we create that same lifeline using the resources you have on an island? And what's really unique is you can use the local plants and rocks and fauna to help you think biomimetically about it, right? For industrial engineers, I think, islands are required to optimize. You don't have, resources, to waste. And so one thing is you'll learn about how indigenous cultures did it and survived for thousands of years. You're talking about a culture that's 4,000 years old, right? But then you can think about, well, how can we actually improve or optimize systems so that we can thrive in islands in the modern age with all the amenities, especially because things are so global, especially in today's world. Finally, for electrical and computer engineering, that your department, being on an island, like, especially in this digital world, requires you, one, to think about your own energy, how you produce it and how you use it, but also how you connect, right? How do you think about supplying energy to an island in the face of different constraints, whether it's, access to solar radiation or distance to, other places to import energy? Can you actually do it renewably, on the island? Can you create a smart grid that's resilient to things like typhoons? And for international communications, like what's the best way to think about, all the things we need, not only for communication, but for computation? And so for here, if I were to sum it up, this class allows you to think through sustainability at a systems level, allows you to reimagine and be creative about how you might design things from scratch if you were to have and live on an island.
Yes, thank you for articulating all the specifics of how it would impact each discipline of student individually. So thank you for that. And then one last question, what advice would you have for a student that might be considering participating in this program?
I think for me in this program, yes, I'm excited about it. And you might be like, yeah, he's, biased. He just, he loves, the community and the island and wants to share it. But one of the real things that motivated me to actually have this program at Pitt is because what a unique opportunity that very few from here would ever get, right? To go across specifically to a small island and get an intimate look at how it operates and connect to the community, right? With a ready-made network. I find myself very fortunate to have been able to travel to, to Europe, to South America, and all these places. And Pitt has afforded me that opportunity for sure. But I think one thing about, the advice of, considering this program, my guess is not something that's so easy to do or ready-made to do or comes to mind. Here's one that you can really, really stretch yourself in a unique way with a unique experience that'd be transformative for a lifetime. And so that's how that's what I tell students who are considering the program.
Well, thank you, Dr. Sanchez. Thank you for sharing your experiences and for telling us a little bit more about this amazing opportunity offered to Pitt students. So we appreciate it. Thank you again so very much.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking the time, Brenda.